What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Short-Haired Sisters. In this video, I'll be sharing the 4.5 books that I read in January, along with some books that I'm wishing to read in February. So let's get started. In January, I read 4 of the 65 books that I set to read in 2023. This is a number that I was hoping to be higher, but with school starting back up and I have to now read a book with English class, it is becoming more difficult for me to film YouTube videos as well as read books as often, so I really hope you guys understand that I was hoping to read more books, it just didn't necessarily happen. The first book that I literally read in 1.5 days, January 1st, is The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. This book, you guys, oh my gosh, it is my new favorite of all time. 10 out of 10 recommend. It was so good. The banter between characters, the plot line, the characters themselves, I really was able to connect with the characters. It had so many elements that I absolutely loved. It had a fake dating trope. It had a I work with my ex trope, which was also really, really interesting. It was super, super good. I gave this book 5 stars. It was a great way to start out this new 2023 year. The second book that I read in January was The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. Now, okay, this book, I ended up giving it like 4.8 stars simply because I read The Bodyguard right before I read this book. If I read this book by itself before reading The Bodyguard, then it would probably be a 5-star read for me. But simply because I read it after reading such a fast-paced book as The Bodyguard, it was really longer for me to get into. It isn't a very long book itself, but I just found myself not really wanting to read it. It was kind of slower paced. Although the switching POVs kind of made it very interesting to read, I ended up finishing it. It was a really good friends to lovers. Highly recommend if you're looking for friends to lovers. Sarah Adams' writing is also really, really easy to read. And both The Cheat Sheet and The Bodyguard have no spice in them, so if you're looking for romance novels that are not very spiceful, then I highly recommend those books. They are also both romantic comedies. I got into romantic comedies. It's a phase that I'll probably grow out of, but they're so good. Alrighty, and then I read The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This book was interesting, to say the least. I really enjoyed the enemies to lovers and like the different plot lines that were going on at the time. The book, however, in my opinion, was very descriptive of some things that I didn't really want it to be descriptive of. So if you're heavily grossed out or anything like that, I would highly recommend looking up trigger warnings for that book. It was a good book nonetheless. I got through it. It was a little bit slow paced, but other than that, highly recommend. The last book that I read was Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. This book. So, I gave this book 3 stars, and I read it after The Hating Game, and I read 3 romance novels before I read this book. So I was kind of getting sick of romance. This book was an interesting one, to say the least. It had an interesting plot line, and the characters were really easy to fall in love with. The only issue with this book is for me, it was really descriptive again, and I probably am going to say this a lot, but look up trigger warnings for your books before you read them, because I didn't do that, and I probably should have. It was a good book. It was kind of slower paced, but it was like medium paced. It wasn't hard for me to get into it, but it also wasn't hard for me to just set the book down, if that makes sense. It's basically about this girl who is a children's party director, so she does clowning, and about this guy who does home renovations, who is I believe it was ex-baseball player. And it was a really interesting, kind of friends to lovers. It was a really interesting book. It had a really interesting plot line, and I give credit to the author for coming up with that interesting plot line. Those are the 4 books that I read that were fully read. And then the last book that I'm currently reading is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager, because I am sick of romance at this point right now. So The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager, I am currently 183 pages in. This book is really good so far. It has a lot of it jumps timelines, which also makes it very interesting to read, and it's also a thriller mystery about this girl who lives across the lake from a ex-superstar or an ex-model, sorry, and the model goes missing, and you don't know where she went. And none of this is spoilers, any of these books, really. The only things that I said have happened in like the first 2 pages, or in the prologue, so there's that. So those are all the books that I read in January, and then now we're going to start getting into my February TBR, which is probably a little ambitious for what I'm wanting to achieve, but it's okay. In February, I am really hoping to read Ugly Love and Verity by Colleen Hoover. I get to pick those up from the library hopefully soon. And then I'm also hoping to read maybe another mystery as well as another thriller. Although I'm unsure which ones to read. I'm really enjoying Riley Sager's writing, so I may read The Silent Patient or The Final Girls by her, because I've heard those are also really good books. Well, that is it for this video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'm so sorry that I cannot upload anymore and all of that stuff. I've been really busy with school, and it's just been honestly chaos, so I'm really sorry that I am unable to upload very much. I also don't have very many video ideas, so there's that as well, which is always super fun. If you know, you know. But that is it for this video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys the next time I see you. Bye-bye!